Hello, how's it going? Tonight I wanted to continue my conversation on COVID-19 and a theory that could possibly be true, and I doubt I will see any evidence to the contrary. Okay, what I'm getting at is let's reflect upon a video I made. I'll give you the abridged version about September 11th and how George Bush and his administration negotiated a lesser evil, the trade centers being destroyed, in exchange for a greater evil, the undetectable nuclear submarines that could have obliterated all of New York, not being used, and then them turning around and creating a stupid story based on that, and it's puzzled many stupid conspiracy theorists for nearly 20 years. Anyway, um, I have a theory about COVID 19. It is of no surprise to anyone who has any modicum of medical knowledge that a disease of some kind was going to emerge from Asia based on their hygienic conditions, their political background, and basically everything to do with that part of the world. And there are social mechanisms that inhibit people from criticizing it here in the West because it has been drilled into our heads by the media that you can't criticize another country or the people that live in it, or you're deemed as a racist and therefore you should not be listened to, even if what you're saying makes any sense whatsoever. Anyway, so yeah, the medical community, there's no way any of them could go, how could this have happened? This really came out of nowhere. Blah, 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 blah. Bullshit. Bullshit. And you have to remember the medical community, they compulsively lie about everything. They hoard secrets. They mislead people. And, overall, they're a very sanctimonious bunch of people. That's the truth. They pretend to be do-gooders. In reality, they are the reason for a lot of our problems in society. Um, okay, and I might have a slightly biased opinion, as I was deliberately given medicine that made me sick for years and years, and then told I was the bad guy so that I couldn't mount a defense, and no one even wanted to hear it anyway, because I was the bad guy, quote unquote. Anyway, we're not here to talk about that. Let's get to vaccinations. How the basic, non-educated person would know how a vaccination works is they give you a small dosage of what the bad thing is, whatever the flu is, or all that sort of stuff, and your body learns how to adapt, detect, and combat an infection should it occur. The idea that I am suggesting is that within the internal compartments of the government, this COVID 19 was negotiated upon for probably many, many years as a failsafe if particularly the US government, which works hand in hand with the rest of the Western countries. They don't always get along, but they work hand in hand. As a failsafe, in case the United States wants to stop doing business with China, and there are many ethical reasons as to why they would want to do that. And, there's also a lot of financial and practical reasons why they'd want to do that. But anyway, supposing this COVID 19 was a cover up, but more than simply a few months ago. Like, because a lot of the people who say the Chinese Communist Party was trying to cover it up said, oh, they've been trying to cover up for months. No, no, no. What if it was known to the inner circles of the government for maybe even years? And you'll notice that of late people are doing a whole lot less coughing. People aren't reporting serious symptoms like fever or anything like that. I imagine COVID-19 would be like getting hit by a sack of potatoes. You'd know if you had it. However, perhaps only the most severe cases of it get deemed as COVID-19. And basically, anyone who meets the requirements, like if they've left the country or whatever and they're on their way back, will go into quarantine to the point where it's like most people who are forcibly into quarantine are it's almost impossible that they have it, therefore casting doubt. I think there's a distinct possibility that most people in the Western world have some variation of COVID-19. And, when you look at how vaccinations are made, why they're made, and the logic behind why they're made, is it really that far-fetched? That this was planned as a failsafe in case particularly the Americans, wanted to bail out on economic ties with China, which I've said, and which is plain as day obvious if you have any kind of a brain whatsoever, as to being a good idea. I mean, the Chinese factories have torn a giant hole in the ozone. If you're going to turn a blind eye to that, you can be as sanctimonious as you want, you're still a cunt. And, of years, the flu actually has gotten worse for a lot of people. You do hear people coughing and, general unfeeling well and that sort of stuff. And it's becoming more and more of an issue, and it seems to be lasting longer. And this isn't the narrative that the COVID-19 story seems to be having right now. It's like, the Chinese government covered it up a couple of months ago, and now we're finally learning and we're combating it and blah, blah, blah. And then there's also the political element to it, where Andrew Scheer mentioned a power grab by the Justin Trudeau government, or an attempted one. Yes, that any leader who takes power always goes for a power grab. That's nothing new. That's a buzzword meant to get people thinking in the wrong direction. Nothing is worse than believing you are intelligent when really you're not. And there are a lot of people out there that don't like being told that they're wrong. And not only that, if they don't want to admit to someone that they think that they're right, they'll ignore them or compile a list of irrelevant or stupid facts to back up their story, even though their answers aren't going to quite jive with the proposition or theory that an individual has come up with. Anyone who is going to rebuke my video that I will see is going to come up with the stupidest, the dumbest fucking answers as to why I'm wrong. And it's not because people of higher standing wouldn't try. It's because they don't want to explain, because if they have to explain, they have to explain all the bad things that they believe in, which are supposedly for the greater good. Therefore, sanctimonianism and all that stuff that goes with it. So I think it's possible that, more than the flu shots. Who knows what we're inhaling every day as far as oxygen, legalized marijuana, anything. It could even be digital. I'm not talking about computers. I'm talking about touching things that have been um, covertly sprayed by government agencies, like metal railings on uh, government buildings or something. Who knows? Um, all of that is totally within the realm of possibility. And I know there are going to be a lot of people going, well, how can you just shut out what's going on around the world and how catastrophic it is and blah, 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 blah. And how could the government ever betray us like that? Well, for one thing, you're never on the fucking internet because that's all people ever talk about, except they talk about it in a stupid way, so it doesn't make any sense. And if they go to try to explain it, they end up looking like a crazy person. However, there are a few key facts here. Like I said, this disease, it was likely to happen, more than likely to happen. In fact, it was going to happen because, the Chinese have been eating disgusting, what they call delicacies, for thousands of years. And there have been probably many a plague that have been brought about from that have been lost to the historical timelines. I mean, remember, we're here as a generation, and generations previous, we only have their story as to what it is, because sometimes people's idea of what history is not actual facts. It's a story. And stories that are good are history, and stories that are not good are forgotten about. So, anyway, I think there's a distinct possibility that most people have some form of COVID-19 already. And whatever way it was introduced into the human body, there's no way I could know. But I am saying that the motive and the reasoning behind that is there, which warrants further investigation. Anyway, talk to people later. Have a good one.